We're becoming more and more acquainted with the term and the reality of artificial intelligence, AI for short. I listened to a report this week about young persons having romantic relationships with their AI partners. I attended a funeral recently where one of the family and recited a poem about a family member composed, by this amazing but frightening process, AI. In the gospel for today's liturgy, we have the parable about two men who go into the temple to pray. The first fellow found his usual place and apparently his usual way to speak of himself. What he promoted was a litany of his ritual actions. He has been performing this and that and feels quite good about what he has to say and care about himself. I would offer that he is experiencing another AI, artificial intimacy, religious exaltation by another name. The second man, knowing himself as a sinner, expresses his condition in AI, but actual intimacy. He knows himself as not having performed the ritual requirements according to the law, as did the man up front. This man was a tax collector, of whom there could be no worse. He is collecting taxes from the dominating Roman government, probably skims off the top, and spends his ill-gotten profits unprofitably. Jesus sends him home humbled and comforted by his adult intimacy, the other. The first fellow left him alone, exalting himself in his adulterated insights. Here is the ponderable. We tend to relate with God, Jesus, the way we generally relate with others. When greeted by others, they would say, "Hello, how are you?" We respond with equivalent conventional words, "Fine, thank you, how are you?" Artificial intimacy with God and with others begins with not being really present, being really there. Actual intimacy depends on firstly being intimate with ourselves. I ask myself sincere questions about how I am doing, feeling, and thinking. This is definitely not exalting myself, but waiting humbly for my true answers. Intimacy begins with self-honesty and acceptance, and that is not always fun. The first man in today's parable was honest about his external, but not in touch with his internal. The sinner was quite honest about both his interior and how he had been living externally. When starting my own morning prayer time, I do ask myself if I am here yet. I have my mug of coffee set, but often I am not set, not available for encountering myself, my truth, in the presence of an all-loving, infinite love, who waits for me to catch up with my reality. God never waits. Even my waking up to my truth is God's active intensity, his AI. To be honest, sometimes I do not get there, not present, not really awake. God is always intimate and actively involved. When we're honest, we will be more easily available to the truth of others and the truth of our days. When we are plastic, we are protective. When we are there, we are vulnerable and receptive. God is more intimate with us than we can ever be with ourselves. The man in the parable in the back of the temple was available to his truth, and Jesus, as always, was available to the fellow's own truth, and the two truths met. The Pharisees said a lot of words of self-exaltation. Jesus said words of healing humility. I have written these words with angelic inspiration, my own AI. That's how I want to embrace life when I'm there, really. Amen.